part the sea of millions who come to cheer them on to victory. From across the water has come American Greg LeMond, taking their sport and making it his life's work. It is LeMond who the world has picked to win this year's Tour de France. Riding with him, France's favorite son, Bernard Hinault. Hinault has pledged this year he will dedicate himself to a win for the American. But can a man with this passion for winning give up the chance to win again? It was LeMond who last year sacrificed himself for his friend and mentor, and now the two form the Tour's electrifying tandem. LeMond, Hinault, and 208 of the finest athletes in the world will take the month of July and turn all of France into their battleground. Greg LeMond and Bernard Hinault will travel the 2,500 miles, tugged along by the 10-man La Viclaire Dream Team put together by Hinault. This is the La Viclaire Freight Train and Greg LeMond's passport to victory. But standing in the way is a man who has beaten them both. Two-time champion Laurent Fignon is back after last year's knee injury. And it's Fignon who is coached by the man who once coached all three. This, then, will truly be the battle royale in cycling's great race. Hello, everyone. I'm John Tesh, reporting live from Paris, France, and welcome to our coverage of the Tour de France bicycle race. You know, before this race began, all the talk was about the favorites, Bernard Hinault, the Frenchman, and the American Greg LeMond. But along came the first American team to enter the Tour de France, and while the results were shocking, we'll tell you more about that a bit later on in this hour. But first, I want to give you a brief synopsis about how the Tour de France works. Each day, it's a different race. One day, it might be a mountain stage. The next, a time trial. It's based on overall elapsed time. And very simply, the man who completes the entire 2,525-mile course in 24 days in the best overall elapsed time becomes the champion of the Tour de France. Stay with us. Over the next hour, we'll bring you our coverage of the Tour, the greatest bike race on earth, the Tour de France. France's gift to the United States is remembered in this replica of the lady, which sits in the River Seine in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. It was given to the French as a thank you by the U.S. back in 1928. It's appropriate that the first race of the Tour de France on this July 4th should be held in the home of Augusta Bartholdi, the designer of the Statue of Liberty. We're in Bologna for the prologue time trial. And in this industrial center on the western border of Paris, a good bit of the pre-race talk is about American Greg LeMond. This is the first time the Tour de France has traveled through the streets of Bologna, and the folks have turned out to see the world's very best. The first day is always a time to renew acquaintances, as friends from all over the world once again unite to start this great race. For the men who will begin this 73rd tour, the time here at the starting line is spent fine-tuning the machines and the flesh and blood. 2.9 miles away at the finish line is my colleague Phil Liggett.
Well, here at the finish line of this opening prologue of the Tour de France, there's an indication of the great interest in the event. Over 500 journalists have already arrived. And the reason is that this prologue time trial may only be a shade under 3 miles, but it will give some indication as to who will lead the teams. The Tour de France essentially is a team race. There are 21 of them here, each one with 10 riders. Most of the teams know their leader, but 1 or 2 of them don't. And one of those teams, of course, is La Viclaire. Will it be Greg LeMond or will it be Bernard Hinault? And the chance here in what the French call the race of truth will give both of them their chance to prove their strength. Well, they call it the race of truth for one reason, because you're on your own, there's no drafting, and the watch tells the truth. And Bernard Hinault has won a prologue time trial on no fewer than 5 occasions in the past. Greg LeMond has never done so, yet he really is everybody's favourite to lead the team. So, a lot to fight out in a very short time trial, a real scene setter for the start of this year's Tour de France. Away from his public, Bernard Hinault, France's most popular sportsman, prepares mentally and physically for the short but important time trial. Is Le Monde behind, thinking what is in the mind of the man they call the Badger? Le Monde exudes the confidence of a rider who believes in himself. It's a different pressure for Eric Heiden. A champion in speed skating, he's a novelty here. But Eric has an infectious personality, and true to the Heiden method, he prepares in his own relaxed way to face the clock and the pain.
Yes, it is the race of truth. And the look of concentration etched on their faces tells you the importance of these final seconds in the start house. Maybe it's concentration, and maybe it's fear. Because when the moment draws nearer to meet the watch, the anticipation breeds a cold sweat. Athletes blast out of the start house, and then it's a journey alone, a sprint, contre la montre, against the watch. Behind each rider, a team support car rolls out, packed with spare parts, even a spare bike. The race to stop time has turned bike racers into high-tech projectiles, aerodynamic helmets, and solid moon wheels to escape wind drag. The Tour de France cannot be won alone, but it's only fitting that the first race end that way, with the sound of the wind and the crowd blasting into your ears. At the finish line, 5 minutes of work can be time well spent, or it can leave you deep in a hole with 22 more days of riding ahead. In a race decided on overall elapsed time, this is what it's all about. Coming up, can the power of gold conquer the race of truth? American Andy Hampsten in the start house, ready to pedal the first strokes in his inaugural Tour de France. Hampsten rides on the French La Viclaire team that includes American Greg LeMond and Frenchman Bernard Hinault. And he is part of the American invasion in this year's Tour de France bike race. Not more than 1 month ago, it was Hampsten who won the prestigious Tour of Switzerland. The frail-looking professor's son from North Dakota has been compared in most every way to Bernard Hinault himself. Like Hinault, Hampsten knows how to win time trials, as he did in that Swiss race. Making history is something at which Eric Heiden has become an expert. The Olympic gold medal speed skater used to train on the bike in the off-season. Last year, he trained his way to a win in the U.S. Pro Cycling Championship. Heiden is also riding in his first Tour de France and on the first American team in the Tour. Heiden plays Beat the Clock now in a race he helped cover with us last year.
3 years ago, Belgium's Eric van der Arden won a Tour prologue in another Paris suburb. But since then, the rising star has not always shone so brightly. Still only 24, he rides with a vengeance. And when he gets to the finish, for the moment at least, he'll have the fastest time. There's a new star now, and Andy Hampsten, using all the latest technology in bicycle design, aims to win, joining a remarkable first year in Europe. Hungry for stardom, Le Monde and Hinault may soon have another winner on the team. No longer pensive, Eric Heiden grimaces at the taste of his hors d'oeuvre. The big ex-skater rides a regular bike, but he's fitted a carbon fibre rear wheel, which helps him to pedal a higher gear. Hopefully go a little faster. Hampsten finishes gulping air, the sign of full effort. Too slow to beat van der Arden. Eric's turn next, and he too fails, but a time much faster than Hampsten's, which should make him feel good for the weeks that lie ahead. Starting behind the Americans, Thierry Marie, at 23 years old from Normandy, catches and passes another rider who started a minute ahead. The Frenchman, one of Laurent Fignon's protégés on his team, continues an inspired ride and responds to cheers. Marie sets the time for those to follow.
Oh man, that was hard. It reminded me of skating at 5,000 meters, you know. Go out there and start relatively easy, but even the easy efforts, when it starts to get to be the last kilometer or so, are really, really hard on you. It's hard to keep the gear rolling, you know.
Fact is, though, you had an excellent time. What about the rest of the tour now? Do you feel in good shape for it?
Well, it's definitely builds a lot of confidence when you can start out well, but we haven't raced in Europe for a couple months now, and tomorrow's race is going to be a little bit crazy. It's a short one, and it's going to be fast. Hope I survive through that, but once the road stages start, I think that's the time when we're going to be able to tell whether we've trained hard enough or not for this race.
It's time for the top guns in the Tour de France to take their places center stage. Greg LeMond. It is LeMond who, having finished second last year, has the opportunity and the responsibility of winning this year's Tour de France. The American riding for La Claire has taken a beating in the press for his inability to win major races, and today pedals this year's time trial like a man possessed. Twice before, Frenchman Laurent Fignon has conquered the Tour de France, but his injury last year kept him from defending his title. Now, the 26-year-old prepares for his race with the watch. Becoming your team's best rider means the other 9 members will work to keep you up front in the Tour de France. Last year, Bernard Hinault took 20 seconds out of Greg LeMond in the first race, and it set the tone for the rest of the Tour. With men like Andy Hampsten and Hinault on his team, a rider like Greg has reason to lift the tempo now. Fignon has left the start house, beginning the first phase of a journey that will test his knees for a full month, over 2,500 miles. The honor of starting last and in the yellow jersey, it's reserved for Bernard Hinault, the defending champion and 5-time winner of the Tour de France. Greg LeMond is still pedaling like a madman. And wasn't it just 1 year ago when LeMond was called upon in the mountains to help team leader Hinault win his 5th Tour de France? The finish line now in sight for last year's second-place finisher, Greg LeMond. LeMond beat Andy Hampsten's time with that performance, but his teammate and France's superhero still to come. And the time trial is Bernard Hinault's specialty. And if the Frenchman takes the lead here, will he really toss away a chance at a record 6th win? Up ahead, Laurent Fignon finishes strong. And with Hinault still to come, what's on the mind of the American Greg LeMond? Greg, you had a good time. How important is it for you at this point to be leading the La Claire team?
It's only important to kind of set the tone of the team that, you know, I'm the strongest and I'll be the strongest for the whole 3 weeks. And, you know, it's important. Last year I lost 15, 20 seconds, you know, in the first prologue, which he's not finished yet, but I don't think he'll do much better of a time than you never know. He knows sometimes comes out of your woodwork and just explodes. But I'm hoping that at least to be equal time. If he beats me by a couple of seconds, it still doesn't mean anything in the sense that he didn't take 20 seconds out of me. But it'd be nice that I'm in the lead of the team.
5 times before, Bernard Hinault has won the prologue, and now surrounded by a horde of cameramen on motorbikes, it's clear that Hinault will end the day's racing without a 6th victory. But this performance put Hinault 2 seconds ahead of his La Claire teammate, Greg LeMond. The standings after day one: Thierry Marie, a time trial specialist, in first place, and a key man on Laurent Fignon's team, which could make things very interesting. Eric Heiden, his first Tour de France, only 12 seconds back. In a race that had figured to be a showdown, all of the top riders were very close. The prologue winner, Thierry Marie, not on the wanted list of any of the top riders, but in yellow, at least for now. And what of Bernard Hinault? 3 miles has left him breathless. Yesterday, the working-class city of Nanterre served up a welcome for the Tour de France bike race. Having such a race start in your town is not only a great honor, it can also put you on the map. But you know, it always seems that each year there are a few bugs to be worked out before you lose that feeling that something bad's getting ready to happen. Well, no one was hurt, and there's always someone around to make sure the Tour de France stays on track, and always someone to answer those nagging questions.
Seen where the team parked at all, Kent? Do you have any idea where the team parked?
Early morning rituals. Greg LeMond putting the equipment in working order. Bernard Hinault, who always has plenty of company around him. Hinault has announced this will be his last tour. Winning it a 6th time would make history. A good many cameras, of course, were pointed in the direction of current overall leader Thierry Marie in his yellow jersey, enjoying a moment many feel might be brief. His boss, Laurent Fignon, with that look that has earned him the nickname Distant Professor. So ready for day 2 now on their month-long journey around the entire French countryside. The race began Friday, July 4th, and headed straight north. It's during these early days of the Tour de France when the racing will be flat and fast as the pack moves together as one. And these towns and plains filled with so much history provide the scenic passageways for the brightly colored surface. The cyclists wind their way through Normandy, then head south, remaining in the flatlands and pointed towards the wine country of Bordeaux. But there's no stopping them. If you can't catch your lunch on 2 wheels, you'll go hungry. The repairs to the bikes and the bodies, it's all handled in similar fashion. For there is no stopping the Tour de France. Out of Bordeaux, and the tour is off to the mountains. First the Pyrenees for 3 scorching 7-hour days and perilous trips through thin air. The crowds at the summit always number in the hundreds of thousands. The trips back down are always frightening. The Pyrenees are merely an hors d'oeuvre. The main mountain course is served up in the Alps. It's said the Tour de France always chooses its champions where the mountains bear the snows of winter. It's also where more of the record 210 riders will be picked off one by one. The courage to continue the Tour de France. It takes more than pain to stop men who have trained a lifetime just to try and finish. When the race has left the Alps, the man wearing yellow will likely be the one who does so in Paris, and so proudly rides down the Champs-Élysées, entering history as the winner of one of the greatest sporting events in the world. 2,525 miles of the Tour de France. And here on day 2, 21 teams of 10 riders each got set for this year's first road race. But their pre-race procession out of town was stopped before it even got started. It was a demonstration by the Communist Workers' Union using the opportunity for attention to protest the closing of the Renault auto plant. The protesters made their point without serious incident, but from behind it looked like a full-scale street brawl, and that was enough to send yellow jersey Thierry Marie looking for cover. Well, with things back to normal, the rolling start out of Nanterre resumed, and 74-year-old director Felix Levitan went about his duties. The rolling start keeps the pack of riders together until the flag comes down for the official start. The first order of business for the bold and brave Frenchman Marie was to shake off his traumatic experience and try and chase down the racers up front. His helmet cover reminds us that this is a bike race and not a fashion show. Bernard Hinault, usually one for a little happy talk in the early stages of a race, looks a little nervous. Maybe it's the fat pack of 210 riders on the narrow roads of this Parisian suburb. And on a day that had already brought enough surprises, Canadian Alex Steeda came up with one more. Steeda, riding on the American 711 team, took off on a one-man breakaway. And no one followed.
So, with the Tour de France less than an hour old and with scant regard for the 38 miles that still lie ahead, Alex Steeda of Canada heads off into the unknown. A touch of Tour fever, it's a common enough disease in France in July, but who cares about why? It's riders like Steeda who have made this race great. The truth is, the first American team to ride are anxious to prove they're not just food for others to build their own reputation. Steeda wants Marie's yellow jersey, and with it a piece of Tour history. No Canadian has ever worn the maillot jaune, but these riders have seen adventurers before.
What's in the mind of Alex Steeda as he leads this 53-mile road race, far and away the shortest in the entire Tour de France? His first tour already put him in uncharted territory, and now a sign on a motorcycle tells him that at 1 minute 47 seconds ahead, he is technically in the yellow leader's jersey, and no North American rider has ever worn it.
A man with a mission. The determined 25-year-old who used to be one of Canada's greatest track pursuit riders was now pursuing the greatest goal of his life, the maillot jaune in the Tour de France. And even with a lead of almost 2 minutes, he knows enough not to allow himself the luxury of thinking what might be. Behind, 5 riders from different teams combine against Steeda, and his lead begins to tumble. The chase is inspired by Phil Anderson in blue, the Australian who was 5th a year ago. Steeda's team car tells him to get up. All is not lost yet, but maintaining 30 miles an hour is beginning to tell, and the vision of a yellow jersey today might just be an illusion after all. The people of Paris are being treated to a strange happening. A Canadian being chased by an Australian, a Dutchman, a Frenchman, and 2 Belgians. Phil Anderson, called the Kangaroo by the French, was here to prove he might again be a challenger for this Tour de France. He spent most of the season injured. This unexpected freedom from the pack inspires the chase. There's still light at the end of the tunnel because today along the route there are catch sprints, places where the first rider wins a bonus at 12 seconds. Now his long attack makes sense. 12 seconds down overnight, Steeda's already won 1. That makes him even. So the chasers eat into the Canadians' lead. Steeda knows if he can win just 1 more sprint, even if they catch him, he still could win the yellow jersey. The catch sprint banner stretching across the road is no mirage, and Steeda races for it. I wonder if even the knowledgeable French understand what they are witnessing. Another 12 seconds in the bag, and if he's caught now, this is time he cannot lose. Alex Steeda is now poised to take the yellow jersey in the Tour de France. The American team is doing the impossible. Behind, the chasing pack of 204 riders begin at last to bare their teeth. Time is running out for Thierry Marie, who began in yellow this morning. Now there's a new name for the French to pronounce. They say Steeda. Hopes of a first Canadian stage victory take a setback when the 5 chasers led by Paul Bashaw from Belgium catch up. The man at the back, Phil Anderson, another member of the Commonwealth, has been responsible for the capture of the Canadian. And with the main field still behind by 30 seconds, all is not yet lost. Anderson's gesture here is friendly. Steeder has earned respect. No more will the field in the Tour de France see the American team as a novelty. Not when one of them has earned the yellow jersey of leadership.
At the line, 3 of Steeda's pursuers finished before him. And although the Canadian was denied a win in the day's race, finishing 5th, he had done something far more damaging. Steeda had completed a good day's work while out on his breakaway ahead of the pack. Being first through all those sprints earned him valuable time bonuses. And as the rest of the pack crossed the line pretty much together, Steeda became the man of the hour. And it's clear by this picture that Steeda was not yet aware of what he had done. The Canadian was now leading the Tour de France. So the standings after 2 races. Alex Steeda was not more than 30 seconds ahead of the top athletes, but he had done some damage to their egos. And so it was yesterday that the Canadian, riding on America's team, became the first North American to wear the Golden Fleece. It was an outrageous move on Steeda's part, but one that certainly paid off. Only the 3rd Canadian ever to ride in the Tour de France. It was a big day for Steeda, who was in no hurry at all to leave the podium. And just as big a day for the world's press who were recording it. Some said Steeda and his 7-11 American team were not even qualified to be here in the Tour. Team manager Jim Okowitz put the win into perspective.
I mean, this is like winning the Super Bowl for us. It's the biggest thing that we've ever done. It's the biggest thing that's ever happened to American cycling, and it's only the beginning of what's going to happen in the future in cycling in the United States. And this has been a lot of work to get here. It's been up and down, big struggle, but we made it, and we're proving a point by being here that we can be contenders in this race now and in the future.
Oh, it's incredible. I'm elated, man. For 7-11, for myself, especially for Canada, I feel just want to say hi to everyone in Vancouver, and hope to keep watching, because there's going to be more to come.
The Tour de France is not only a magnificent bicycle race, but it's an advertiser's extravaganza. Now, you won't find television commercials here in France the way you would find them on TV in the United States. So in order to get their products on TV, what the French do is become the official sponsor of something. There's an official bank of the Tour de France, an official drink. There's also an official tow truck company of the Tour de France. Also, there is an official sponsor of what you'll be seeing a lot of this month, the yellow jersey. That's Banania, which is a breakfast cereal in its regular form or in Banania Classic. There's an official insect spray of the Tour de France. It's called Catch in this version, the spray version, and of course, Catch Motels. Now, the official aperitif, Ricard. If you drink too much of that, there's the official vitamin C, Vita Scorball. The official power tool of the Tour de France, Ryobi. And of course, the sponsor of the white jersey, the best rookie, Super Qua. This will get your stuff clean in a hurry. To give you some idea of how it all works in practice, take a look at a compressed version of Canadian Alex Steeda's 15 minutes on the podium. When Steeda went out on his surprise breakaway on Saturday, so early in the Tour, he also won all the different jerseys. And when it came time for all the presentations, well, it was truly a hugging, kissing, smiling, banner-holding, hat-wearing, flower-accepting, advertising frenzy. What's even more astounding, though, is what precedes the Tour into each different town 1 hour before the day's race. They call it the Caravan Publicitaire, which needs no translation and little description, except to say that it began in 1931 and those sponsors who pay to be a part of it greet their demographic groups personally along the course. For the spectators, it's exciting, and if you'll forgive me, one of the more ridiculous things you could ever witness up close and personal. Late Saturday, a unique day on the Tour de France, the only day they hold two races. The chatter prior to the team time trial was about the fortunes of the Tour's first American team in general, and yellow jersey Alex Steeda in particular. When Steeda took off on his one-man breakaway in the previous race, no one saw him as a threat, but the joke was on everyone else. A cruel joke indeed for the man everyone thought would be the first North American to wear the yellow jersey.
Well, it's a rather real lucky break for them because it's not a matter of really by strength that they took it. It's by luck because of the circumstances, but it's a good break for them. It's good.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime deal to wear the yellow jersey. It's incredible. Unbelievable. And it's impossible to describe the magnitude of that accomplishment. It's incredible. Le Mans never had the yellow jersey, and he's done the race twice, and he's the best cyclist in the world. It's amazing.
Indeed. But this year, Greg has been picked as the favorite to win with his French team. And we are, after all, only 2 days into the Tour. Two-time winner Laurent Fignon. He and his System U team could have something to say about all that. Coming up, the teams at their best and worst. Late yesterday, 8 miles outside of Paris, the Tour de France was in the town of Meudon. Warm and windy, and the second race of the day following the 53-mile road race. This was a 34-mile team time trial. In the spotlight at race time, Canadian Alex Steeda, who would lead the 10-man American team.
The team time trial stage in the Tour de France is the one the riders hate. The leaders of the teams are at their most vulnerable because they are only as strong as their weakest members. The rules say that 6 must finish together at the same time, so even anxious team leaders must wait for their weaker teammates. Each man takes his turn to lead the formation into the wind, but it's not as easy as it looks. The best teams can knit together into one fluid movement. Each 10-man team starts in formation every 5 minutes for the 35 miles test. And with the team racing for the fastest time, a strong squad can gain a lot. The 7-11 team have never ridden a team time trial with 10 men, and they need a good time to keep Alex Steeda in his yellow jersey. The emphasis is on speed and coordination, and riders normally accustomed to sitting in the pack must take the lead. The Lavie-Claire team, led by Greg LeMond, show their years of experience by keeping a tight formation. They ride in 2 files, one going forward to set the pace, the other falling back for a little bit of relaxation. Led by Laurent Fignon, the System U team is experienced and anxious to do well. Team manager Cyril Guimard shouts to keep his men aware of progress. But it's left to former Tour winner Laurent Fignon, who has the job to keep his gladiators in textbook formation. Bernard Hinault is not having the same success with his team's coordination. But when the rhythm works, it's poetry in motion. When it doesn't, a team can fall apart, and the result is disaster. Eric Heiden has fallen, highlighting the dangers of riding with your own teammates in a tight formation that lacks coordination. The team has gone on, but Heiden, one of the strongest forces in the squad, leaves a question for the team to answer. Should they wait or should they lead him, remembering that only 6 need finish together? For Heiden to restart, and over the hill the team shows signs of waiting. But on this historic day, fortunes are mixed for the team, and there's more trouble.
was now brutally clear that Alex Steeda's brief friendship with the yellow leaders jersey would not continue through the day. His bold breakaway in the 53-mile road race hours earlier had sucked the power from his legs, and Alex Steeda tried in vain to keep up with the team trying to protect the Golden Fleece. Steeda was now in a new struggle. He was in danger of falling more than 5 minutes behind his team and being dropped from the Tour de France. The team sent riders back to try and help, but the Canadian continued to struggle. Team and Greg LeMond picking up his tempo, riding in a nervous hustle, his team appearing lackluster, and LeMond trying to generate a quicker pace. Looking like they had been oiled, waxed, and shot from a gun, the System U team was a techno blur spurred on by two-time champion Laurent Fignon. Steeda continued to falter and was now caught by the Peugeot team, who had started minutes later. At the finish line, 6 members of Team 711 finished together. They had sent 2 riders back to try and help Steeda stay in the race. In 1 hour and 16 minutes, they had endured a crash, 4 flat tires, and lost the yellow jersey. Each rider receives the time given the entire team. Claire finished the day in deep trouble. The feeble efforts of the team that included LeMond and Hinault would leave them a full 2 minutes behind the leaders. Alex Steeda, the historic bearer of the yellow jersey, and he came within 49 seconds of having his Tour de France end right here. The winners of the team time trial System U, Laurent Fignon and his army of first lieutenants, had obliterated La Vie Claire's dream team and the rest of the field.
How do you feel, man? Oh, I can't feel my legs. We just weren't organized, and I think lack of experience in the time trial really showed today. See this picture.
We went from the pinnacle of the sport to the bottom of the pit today.
They were clamoring to see a French superstar, but not Hinault. Laurent Fignon was of interest as the man who could, with his team, lead and win his 3rd Tour. And his loyal 10-man system would never give him a raw deal. Saturday, the yellow jersey for the 2nd time in 2 days. Fignon's right-hand man, Thierry Marie. Smiles all around for the system, but for no one else.
Our team was 4th place? That's right. Good luck, I tell
you. If that picture didn't tell the story, this will. After 2 days of racing, Greg LeMond, 1 minute 59 seconds behind. Eric Heiden, more than 5 minutes. Laurent Fignon, what's in the mind of the distant professor from Paris? Welcome back live, Paris, France, our base of operations here at Tour de France coverage. I'm John Tesh along with Phil Liggett. Earlier today, the longest road race so far in the Tour de France, 133 miles. Let's give you a look now at just what happened earlier today.
With rain at the start and 133 miles still to go, the System U team are feeling tired but relaxed after a wonderful time trial the previous day. Laurent Fignon, can he win the Tour de France for the 3rd time? He thinks he can because his team all come to the front today and hold the race under control. But Greg LeMond, the young American, watches and waits and uses the System U team, his rivals, as his allies. Bernard Hinault, a former teammate of Laurent Fignon, what does he think now? Can he take on the whole of the System U team today?
The surprise of the day was generated by the Boulder native, American Davis Finney, who decided it was time to go to his famous sprint and lead the American 711 team.
for the greatest moment in American history, a road race win in the stage of the Tour de France.
And with the final sprint, a frenzied one indeed, watch the right of your screen as Davis Phinney, just at the finish line, becomes the first American ever to win a road race stage in the Tour de France. So look at the standings after today's race and 3 days in the Tour de France, and look at Greg LeMond, almost 2 minutes back along with Bernard Hinault. Eric Heiden, better than 5 minutes back. And back here live in Paris, and there's a look at how Davis Phinney and the rest of the Tour de France gets back to you in the United States. And a look at our mobile production audio and video state-of-the-art facility that, believe it or not, travels around and will travel around with the Tour de France 2,500 miles. Back here with Phil Liggett. And Phil, a question about Greg LeMond. 2 minutes back. Does he still have a chance?
Oh, most certainly, John. He's only, in fact, 2 seconds back on Bernard Hinault, and that's got to be one of his major rivals. LeMond, of course, will be a little bit disturbed that Fignon's a little bit further up the ladder. But for me, these are the men of the Tour de France, and the rest are just supporting riders, even though we've had a great win today.
What about this 7-Eleven team quickly now? Do they have a chance?
They don't have a chance of winning the Tour de France, but the world is full of fairy tales, the Tour de France especially, and today we've seen a fairy tale come true. It's been fantastic.
And a great day for Davis Phinney, and the day before Alex Dida. That's it from us here in Paris. Stand by on CBS Sports for the Greater Hartford Open. For now, I'm John Tesh for Phil Liggett. So long from Paris, France.
CBS Sports Sunday has been sponsored by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. Anco, see your way clear with quality Anco windshield wiper products. And by United States Liberty Coins. Keep Liberty in mint condition with United States Liberty Coins. Coming up next, the Greater Hartford Open. CBS Sports Sunday has been a presentation of CBS Sports.